Hey there, YouTubers, it's Don from True Cable coming back at you again. This time to talk about commercial bonding and grounding of your information technology communication structure, basically your structured cabling system. When we're talking about commercial work, the National Electric Code, NEC NFPA 70 applies. 2020 is the latest edition. And there are some pretty strict rules about how you bond your infrastructure so that it's safe. Now, that applies to the communications technology sector because all metal, for example, in a telecommunications closet needs to all be bonded to a busbar. And there are rules about how you bond it, and so we're going to talk about that right now. First is the minimum wire gauge and type that you may use is 6 AWG stranded copper, basically ground wire. Normally it's in green jacket, and the idea is to equalize all potentials in the telecommunications room and any sort of pathway that is metallic that is being used for your communications cable. This includes ladder rack, it includes your actual rack itself, it includes the equipment in the rack, it includes even any metallic conduit pathways like we're using here. It also includes that. So as you can see, we're using 6 AWG, and it's being crimped to a basically a double crimp, double lug connector. And it's screwed down to a UL listed copper bus bar, and it has to be attached to plywood. The reason why this plywood is here, this is fire rated plywood with fire retardant paint, is because if something serious should occur, like a serious short or a lightning strike, an electrostatic discharge, then this is not nearly as apt to burn. And so that is part of fire safety. So we've gone and equalized everything in this room. So in other words, we've got a copper bus bar that's been mounted to our rack, and everything in the rack, including the rack, is bonded to this bus bar. So for example, we've got a short jumper here, and it's bonded to the rack. One thing that you're going to see on a lot of rack hardware is paint. The paint has to come off. Paint is not a good conductor of electricity. You want to get down to bare metal. So the best way of doing that, well, you can go the slow way, which is a Scotch-Brite pad, one of these green ones. The quick way is a drill with a wire wheel attachment. So what I did is when I attached that lug up here to the rack, I used a wire wheel attachment, made it bare metal, and then I prepped up that area that's bare metal with what's known as a no oxidation grease or paste, and you apply it with a brush. For example, I'm going to prep up our spot on our bus bar here, and I'm going to show you, like using the Scotch-Brite pad, you want to get as much of the old oxidation or grease or anything that's on there off of there. So just polish it so that you get all the oxidation off and you got a nice, clean, bright surface. And as you can see, hopefully you can see it in the video, it's quite a bit brighter now here than it is here because this is already oxidized and that is not oxidized. After that, you then take your no oxidation paste, grease. This is made by Sandchem. It's called No-Ox, it's very popular. And then you apply a very thin coat of this grease to where the lug is going to bolt down. And you don't have to go crazy with it. You're just looking to put a light coat on there so that the copper does not oxidize any further. And at that point, you would attach your lug, which has already been crimped onto your 6 AWG bonding conductor, and then you would torque it down to the proper torque specifications that's called for by the instruction hardware that came with the bus bar. When you are terminating your lugs onto the 6 AWG solid copper or stranded copper bonding conductor, you are crimping it in two places, and it requires a special crimping tool which I don't have here to demonstrate for you at the moment. But it does require quite a bit of force to crimp one of these lugs down. And as you can see, they're really crimped down there good. They're actually crimped in 2 places. And the rules around crimping those guys on, there is no more than a credit card thickness between the end of the metal and the start of the jacket. So in other words, you do not want any degree of exposed copper. And that is, again, for safety. The next thing is even metallic conduit. If it's 3 feet or shorter, you still have to bond it in a commercial building. So in this case, this pipe up here is metallic. It's IMC or basically ENT, that's electrical conduit. And it's being used for our Ethernet cable for our office runs. And the one end of it, because it's only 3 feet tall, is bonded. And it's bonded with a green ground wire or bond wire going down to the bus bar. And then there is another wire running out into a sub panel, which we'll demonstrate in a moment. Now, in the case of a much taller metallic conduit or metallic pathway, that one happens to be 20 feet tall. So it's actually bonded at both ends to equalize it. And by code, if you're going to be, especially if you're running something like that across the hallway, you must bond both ends of it. And it has to all be equalized and bonding back to your bus bar. And then it has to run off to your primary bus bar and then to the nearest sub panel. So you're trying to equalize as many pieces of metal as you can so that you have a safe installation. When it comes to things like equipment, for example, in your rack, if there is a provision on the equipment for a bonding conductor, then you should make use of that. Not all equipment, for example, this Ubiquity equipment only has the 3-prong grounding electrical connection here, so there's no provision on them for additional auxiliary bonding. However, on our power distribution unit panel, there is. So we're going to show you what that looks like. So this is what's known as a PDU, or a power distribution unit. The idea is that this device here is plugged into our battery backup, and then this provides power to the rest of the rack where you can plug in various pieces of equipment. So we've got it bonded. It did have an auxiliary bonding point, and we bonded it right here. And then this is also running to the rack bus bonding bar, and then from there, the rack bus bonding bar is connecting to the bus bar here on the wall. So that's basically what it looks like inside of a telecommunications room. I mean, we've even gone as far, of course, as to bond the actual ladder rack here to the bus bar. So everything metal in the telecommunications room has to be bonded and equalized, period. So let's go out to a sub panel to show you where it's connecting at there. Okay, so now we're out in the main warehouse area. This is the office block. The telecommunications room is located on the other side. And there is a bonding conductor, the green conductor that you see. That is actually, the other end of that is bonded to our bus bar in the telecommunications room. And then that conductor is coming down into this electrical subpanel. Now, just for safety's sakes, do not, under any circumstances, open up one of these panels, because it's not just opening the door that you have to do. Opening up the door doesn't actually give you what you need. You actually have to take off the frame, and then you have to bond the conductor to the bus bar on the inside of this thing. Well, considering this thing here may be 480 volts, that's the last thing you want to go opening up because it's a serious safety hazard. So only registered electricians should ever open up one of these things. So you can run your bonding conductor down to the panel, but stop there. At that point, you need to call a registered electrician, and they're the one that actually needs to make the connection in the sub panel. That should never be done by a structured cabling systems technician or someone putting an Ethernet cable in a commercial building. In other commercial situations, not this one, there's also a larger bonding conductor running back to the primary bus bar, which is in the entrance facility. which is in the entrance facility. It is a noisy warehouse. My apologies, guys. So it is an active warehouse. So anyway, there would be a even thicker bonding conductor going back to the primary bus bar in the entrance facility, which is where all of your utilities come in, that being plumbing, electrical, everything from the outside coming in comes in there. And again, that particular connection should be made by an electrician. In this particular case, it wasn't feasible to run something back to a primary bus bar, so we had to settle for just this sub-panel here, which is sufficient for our installation. Always consult a registered electrician. Always, always, always do it. So in the written blog, you're going to see more detailed pictures and get some close-ups and also see a crimper in action. So hopefully the video helps you, and then the blog will help you too. Have a great day. Happy networking.